Let's.
Okay, you guys, my longtime client and friend, Kat Torre, sent a message into an old group recently. I had this offer called the Accelerator years ago, and we would meet 3 times in 1 week, once a month. And so it was like, instead of breaking it up across the month, it was like, let's get a lot of shit done in 1 week, and
Mm-hmm.
then we'll meet again next month. And so it was a lot of fun. We all became best friends. This is during my dating season. So you guys were pretty much the only people who were getting the behind the scenes tea on when
Yeah.
Andrea first started dating for the
We had
first time in
after
her adult
hours.
life.
Yes.
Yeah, we would have the session that everybody paid me for, and then we
Mhm.
would all like just stop recording, and then we would stay on Zoom and we would grab drinks, and then it would be after hours. It's so fun.
Yes.
Okay, so we our Voxer group is still alive and well because we all became best friends. And Kat put something in there the other day that I want to start with that was like so sweet and so fun. And then I want to dig in because there's a lot of depth. There's so much more here than meets the eye. And she said, you know, I can't remember what I put in there, but you said, same Andrea, I still do my monthly milestones. Excited
Mm-hmm.
to do July as I wrap up a 16K project, another 14K, and reflect upon when my rate was $75 an hour when we first started together and how far I've come. And I was like, wait, what's your rate now? And she goes, 1,000. So from $75 an hour to 1,000. I know that there's so many significant in between moments of the becoming of Kat in order to accelerate your rate to a
Mm-hmm.
thousand bucks. But I want to talk about some of like the trials and tribulations that you've had. As I was like saying before Mother Nature cut us off, she has this like
Yes.
cool neon sign behind her called the brand architect. And I know that there's a lot of parts of your story being a daughter of immigrants and finding your voice, especially finding your voice online that are a piece of this. But before we
Mm-hmm.
get into like who Kat is today, tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Oh, damn. So we're going there, like just immediately. So I was
Well,
born
I
and
need some
raised.
building blocks.
No, totally. We need the context, right? We thrive on context as humans. So I was born and raised in California. I'm a California girl through and through, no matter where I call my mailing address home. And I was raised by a mother who is incredible, made so many sacrifices for me and my brother. She was born in Tokyo, Japan, post World War II. And her, along with my aunt, lived in Tokyo and went to school for 6 days a week, which she always reminded me of whenever I complained about having to get up for school only 5 days a week in the US. And they lived there until they were about 9 or 10, and then they moved stateside and moved every 2 years as military brats. My grandpa was a career army man. My grandmother was stay at home and helping raise my mom and my aunt. And my mom was very, very open about sharing that part of her culture and her heritage. And there was a lot that was a bit tragic about, my mom's story and my grandmother's story in particular, leading up to World War II. And I won't get into that because that's their story and I'm creating my own. But what it did tell me and show me was the importance of knowing where you've come from and taking what wisdom you can learn from the sacrifices and the stories that your family contributed to you, but then not allowing it to keep you small or keep you stuck in this mindset of, well, it was hard for them in this way. It needs to be hard for me in the exact same way. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
allowed to have things be easier for me. I'm not allowed to be able to charge $1,000 an hour for my strategic insight and guidance. I need to be there working hard, putting in the sweat equity in order to earn that
Mm.
dollar. And there's so much that's so beautiful about my mother's heritage that I have integrated, so many different Japanese principles. And I was actually chatting back and forth with Legend AI maybe a couple weeks ago. And, because not undoing, but unraveling the immigrant story and knowing which parts I want to keep with me and move forward has been a huge internal work I've been doing this year. And Legend reflected back to me and she said, if your grandmother and your great grandmother, like all of the women in my maternal line, going all the way back centuries back, could see you today, would they truly want you to suffer in the way that they suffered. Otherwise, what did their suffering do
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah.
And if you're the one that has the tools and the resources to be the change and to heal that and to end those cycles, like almost practical magic level, like breaking of generational cycles. And I immediately started crying
Hmm.
because I wouldn't want I'm going to become a mother in the near future. I would not want my child to suffer in the way that I have suffered. I'd want
Yeah.
her or him to know what a narcissistic abusive relationship looks like or what immigrant sacrifices were made and the privilege and the opportunity that they do have now. There's going to be
Hmm.
different lessons they have to learn in the new world. But
Hmm.
it's just that was from an early time in my life. I was very aware that even though I look like a white girl and I have the privileges of a white girl, I come from immigrants. And even on my father's side, my grandmother was from Colombia and she taught us Spanish. We learned to speak Spanish before we learned to write and read it in school. And just her story and just the women in my family, how strong they are and how much they've done. It made me really proud to be a woman. And I wanted to make them really proud too.
What are the parts of you as a woman that that you would choose to bring forward into the next generation, into your children?
Oh, that's a good question. Think that women have such an expansive capacity
Mm.
for the strong things and the soft things. And my gift and my perspective that I want to bring is that it doesn't need to be a perfect balance, like an always. You have to be strong and hard and be the breadwinner and be the rock, but then you have to be soft and allow people to help you and do all of these things, right? I love it when people tell women what to do. I I want it to be a harmony
Oh, yeah.
of when you get to be strong and forthright and boss and CEO, but also when you get to be a feminine puddle and allow yourself to be taken care of and received and held. And neither is good or better than the other. Sorry, my cat Blaze keeps trying to join us. He can tell I'm getting excited. But I think I want it to be a harmony because I found someone and I've surrounded myself with people that identify, they're like, oh, Kat's in boss mode. Watch out. And then I've surrounded myself with people that also say, Kat's taking a day. You got to give her time. Just step away, allow her to be her, allow her to reset and recharge, and she'll come back with some brilliance. They allow me that space. And I think it's a harmony. There's no either or. It's always an and, it's always dynamic, it's always a spectrum. That's what I would want people to think about when they see women moving forward in a world that changes even as we speak, even as we're having this conversation in ways we don't even know yet.
For somebody who coaches people now strategically and even emotionally and astrologically and
Yes.
um, on being able to communicate, I know like branding is something that you're known for. You're known as the brand architect, but like the things that power the brand,
Yeah.
which is our story and our voice and the senses. Like, what part of that was a struggle for you in the beginning? I know you've talked about like not feeling like you had a voice, and now that's the thing that you're paid $1,000 an hour for. So that's quite a
Right.
transformation. Like, what did that look like, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. So I say this often, and we had talked about it in take one of the More Alive podcast approximately 30 minutes ago, that branding is so nebulous. And in the era of digital and with the rise of social media and platforms where you can really easily connect with millions of people, the term personal branding has even gotten a lot of spotlight and a lot of love. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about what that actually is and what that actually means. And at the end of the day, my definition of a brand, whether it's personal or corporate, it really just is the emotional imprint or impact that you leave on somebody in their heart and in their mind, sometimes even physically, right? If somebody chooses to tattoo themselves like Harley Davidson, people get those tattoos, which is insane. That's true brand
Yeah.
love, right? You're marring your body. That's how strongly you want the imprint to be on you. That's all it is. And
Mhm.
there's so many different ways you can create that imprint and deepen that imprint. Like, footsteps in the sand get washed away easily. But if they're concreted, they're not going to get washed away. And I find so many people rush to want to create the visuals of a brand. They think a brand is your logo. They think it's the colors. They think it's having a website. They think it's having merchandise. They think that it is creating content. They think that it is their reputation. It's not. Reputation is separate from brand. Image is separate from brand. Reputation and image is all about you. Brand is about what you do to others, your impact on others. And
Mm.
it's funny, when I started my journey, I didn't even realize I was starting my journey, but in 2018, and I'd shared this in our early mastermind container, I legitimately had no voice. I had completely given it up. I was in a very abusive, narcissistic, toxic relationship. And I was also in partnership business wise with this person. So every element of my life was just given up. And I didn't even dress myself. I didn't make any decisions about what happened with our money, my plans of where I would go and who I would spend time with. I completely gave it up. I had no voice. When I left, it was this oddest thing. I didn't know what the edges of my identity were. I honestly didn't know what I liked and didn't like. I didn't know what I stood for and what I didn't stand for. I legitimately didn't. So, in 2018, see if they look me up online or you see me on stage now, it's a very different version of Kat that you're getting because just 7 short years ago, I was in a relationship in which I had essentially given up my voice. I'd given up even my wardrobe. I've given up my finances, my sanctuary, my sanity, everything. And I say I gave it up because I think that people who are in difficult, toxic situations often want to blame the other person. And that person definitely does contribute. My ex definitely contributed to a lot of the turmoil in my life. But I was also choosing to give up all of those things. It's not a one way situation. You co create those situations. And when I left him, finally, I left everything. It's funny. I took this picture where everything I owned could fit on a bellhop cart. And I still have that picture. And now when I travel, when I'm paid to travel and I stay at these beautiful hotels or conferences and I'm in a lobby and I see a picture of a bellhop cart, I take a picture of it because I'm like, oh, I'm getting paid thousands to be here, to pour into people, to share my knowledge and to encourage transformation. And what I'm traveling with fits on a bellhop cart, but I have so much more waiting for me at home and just across the country with all of my friends and my community and my resources. And so
Wow.
my journey in brand building didn't start with brand building. It really just started with me figuring out what my voice was and how I wanted to sound and what I wanted to articulate and what my actual personality was when I wasn't surrounded by somebody who was just calling all the shots. Like I kind of took back control and command of that.
What's the process for you of being able to go from a life where you felt like you didn't have choices, you didn't have a voice, now help people cultivate voices? I can't imagine that that was like a hop, skip, and a jump for you to just be like, you know what? Fuck it. I have a lot to shit. I have a lot of shit to say today.
Hmm.
Something tells me that there was a little bit more of a process in between of you being able to start cultivating story. I know that you've shared a little bit about this part of your background on the internet, but it's not like all of a sudden you decided to like identify as someone who's coming out of an emotionally abusive relationship and are now turning that into a business. It's not like, I know a lot of people have said, like, I turn my pain into my purpose. And like, that's not really been your experience. But I imagine that there's been a lot of shit happening on the background where if you were to think about what advice that you would have for someone who's like, you know what, I do feel like I hesitate when I share myself online. I feel like if I say it, I'm going to get it wrong, or maybe I'm going to be too vulnerable, or maybe I shouldn't say anything at all. Like, I don't think that this is just messaging either. I think it's like, people's hesitation to bring a piece of themselves onto the internet for the betterment of other people, that's not an easy thing to do. And
Hmm.
how would you coach somebody through that?
Yes. So One filter that I always keep in mind whenever I'm sharing anything, as recently as this week when my home office flooded a few days ago. I don't know if you knew that, Andrea, but I
God
was
bless the
going
floods.
right. The biblical Mother Nature and water is the most powerful force in the universe, aside from our energy. But the filter I would use is to think about the simple phrase of share your scars, don't share open wounds. Now, I went through a very turbulent breakup. There was legal involved, there was lots of therapy involved in 2018 and in 2019. I did not publicly start sharing about that period of my life until 2024. So 5 years later, where I did a lot of therapy, a lot of inner work, I rekindled and reconnected with my family, with my close friends who immediately accepted me. I wanted to apologize for ghosting them, for isolating myself from them. And they just immediately welcomed me back with open arms because they knew, if you have
Mhm.
somebody going through that, you can't force them. They have to
Right.
figure it out on their own, or sometimes they don't figure it out. And that is their journey. So I didn't really start sharing about that until years later, until I could talk about it without feeling that like triggering autonomic nervous response in the pit of your chest, like right where your sternum is. We all know that feeling.
Mhm.
And so when it comes to using your voice and sharing stories online, I always think about, can you share this story with what the lesson in mind is? Or are you sharing it just to get validation and support?
Mm.
Is it still an open wound? That's your responsibility for healing. It is nobody else's responsibility. That's the other thing I learned in this process. We don't owe anything to anybody, and nobody owes anything to us. And that's beautiful and freeing because you can go it on your own. Awesome. But if you go it together with people and you give as much as you receive, you'll go a lot farther. But nobody
Mhm.
owes you anything. And I think if you can share something through the lens of wisdom, instead of it being a wound, that's a filter I share with all of my clients. And I've seen it when I say that, the light bulb goes off. They're like, oh, I know exactly what I can't share right now, what I'm going through. But you can share it after you've been through it.
Do we have to? If we, I mean, most of my people who are listening have a personal brand and they would be considered a solopreneur and they're
Mhm.
probably some sort of coach and want to help people in some capacity, maybe in the ways that they've needed help for them in the past. But do we have to share our wounds at all, even if they're closed?
No, you don't have to share anything that you don't feel comfortable sharing or called to share. There is no obligation, regardless of how famous you are, how big you're following. You do not owe the public and the comments section anything, period.
Mm.
If people feel entitled, that is their own abandonment issues coming up and they're spewing it over your comment section. And I just say block and delete. And I think, too, one thing that I realized is because I think this came up in one of our containers, Andrea, where we were working together, where I thought about maybe doing a masterclass for other women who were in abusive situations or coming out of abusive situations. And I was going to call it Let's Make You Light. That was the title. It came out. It was so clear. But there was something holding me back from wanting to do that. And what I've realized is helping people find their voice now is not about working with people who are survivors of domestic violence or domestic abuse, narcissistic abuse. It's purely just helping people find their voice that have insecurities, that are introverted, that are overwhelmed at the idea of showing up online. I work with a lot of individuals who are from Generation X and the baby boomer generation, and technology is flustering for them, like it will be for me 30 to 40 years from now. And so I'm still helping people find their voice because of my journey of finding my own voice from that very dark situation I was in. But it's not that I'm helping people from exactly that situation and sharing all the gory details and all of that. I'm just thinking about what were the things that I did to figure out how to start standing up for myself. And another question that all of your listeners can think about that really helps you develop your voice is, what is the emotion you want people to feel when they hear your voice or they read your words? Just one emotion. And it's
Mhm.
so funny because I've asked that question of clients and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just pick it up, just tell me an emotion. What emotion do you want somebody to feel when they see a text message from you? And it stumps them because we don't think about that. We think about,
Yeah.
I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I want to seem professional. I want all these things. And that's comes from a good place because you don't want to be an asshole. But honing in on that one emotion can really help you clarify and takes the pressure off of you. It's not about you. Branding is never about you. It's about everybody else that you're touching and impacting. And so for me, there's two emotions that I want everybody to feel when they engage with myself or the brand architect. And that one is that I want them to be inspired because there's so much shit out there that is depressing and traumatic and exhausting and triggering and scary that I'm like, let's spread some light. So let me leave you inspired. And then the other emotion is I want you to feel emboldened. I want you to sit up straighter. I want you to feel some energy in your chest and be bold to go ask for that raise or ask for that project or pitch that offer or approach that client that you thought you weren't worthy of and that you see so many other people working with them, but you only work with these types of clients. And how dare you think you could work with those types of clients? But why not? So, those are the two emotions that I always think about whenever I'm writing or speaking at all, inspired and emboldened. And it makes it really easy if you know that end result. It's just about reverse engineering what words to use, how to say it to create that emotion.
What would you say would be the two emotions that I cause from my brand the most since you've been around for so long?
Good question.
What do you think my emotions are?
I mean, this might be my own spotlight bias, but I think they're similar to mine in that you're very inspiring. You're also very like, I don't know. That's a good question. I do feel very inspired. I feel very enlightened, I think is a feeling that comes
Mm.
across whenever I read something from you. Enlightenment and seeing things in a new way and expanding my capacity alongside my identity. Yes, inspired, but no, I think enlightenment would be the feeling, enlightened. Because also I feel a lot lighter after I read whatever you say, but I also feel a lot wiser after I read whatever you say. So I would say official brand architect diagnosis, enlightened is my emotion that I feel. How does that word or that emotion feel for you as a reflection?
Really good. I wouldn't have thought of the word enlightened, but I was thinking light. Like my intention is always to create a levity or a lightness for my
Yes.
customer and for her to feel more connected to truth. So what you said is the culmination of both of those, essentially. Where it's
Truth
just
and
like,
light. Oh yeah, it is.
right, duh. I want her to walk through the world saying, you know what, I knew that.
Silly
Because
me
I'm
for
not
holding myself back.
teaching. Right. And it's like, I don't want them to ever feel like I hold the keys to the kingdom. I just want to remind them that they're in their pocket. So,
Mhm.
yeah. No,
Remind
what
them
I
where to
saw
look.
as I was thinking about, yes, exactly. What I saw as I was thinking about this was I was like, I want them to feel like fucking fairies that they can just like fly through the world and they're like, I create magic. Here's my dust. Here's my like sprinkle, sprinkle. Oh my God. You guys, like, I'm never going to stop saying sprinkle, sprinkle. Kat knows what I'm talking about, but
I
like
do.
this like douchey broy commented on one of my posts. I put a quote card on Instagram the other day and it's just like really started actually going viral yesterday. And the post says, if I can't bring all of me in the room, I don't belong in the room. This guy posts P.S. My daughter goes, the jokes write themselves. When she heard this, I was like, his name
Legit.
is Chad. It like doesn't get any better than this. And he goes, Chad said, your ego is insane. And I just like commented back and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ignore this one. It's too good. It's too juicy.
It
And
is.
I said, tell me that went over your head without telling me that went over your head. Like, Chad.
Mhm.
Like, but then he said afterwards, oh, where did it go? He goes, shove your sprinkle, sprinkle shit. And I was like, first of all, I need someone to actually help me interpret what this means, like
Yeah, we
decipher,
don't speak
please.
bro.
But from now on, I'm just gonna be like, "Sprinkle, sprinkle," and I'm like, "Actually, yes, I will shove my sprinkle,
Fairies.
sprinkle shit all over planet Earth." Thanks, Chad, for the great advice. Jesus.
That
Jesus,
is
take that wheel.
so I
Seriously.
know, right?
Anyways,
I the image, you talking about fairies, I was thinking, what image do I want my customer, my introverted customer to think about? And the image of a catwalk and like walking the catwalk in Paris, Fashion Week, all eyes on you. And the way that models walk that catwalk, they fucking own the room. They move the room, the energy currents that are created when they come in and then they come out and they come in. Yeah. I want you to feel like you're the one on the catwalk, like you're the star. It's not me. It is not about me. I'm in the back in the dressing room saying, you fucking got this. Let me fix your mascara. You got the right shoes. Okay, great. Now go. You're the star. Hype, like a hype person. Like that's also how I see myself. Not a gatekeeper. You could do it on your own, but
100.
yeah.
No, you're definitely in your astrology chart. Like you've got a hype woman, like deep, 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 all threaded throughout for sure. No, I'm seriously like everyone's a fairy, and I want everyone to just be like, that was fun, and that was fun, and that was fun, and that was fun. And like, none of this is real.
No, no, it's not.
So let's just fuck around and play. Okay, I want to go back to brand voice because I feel like this gets people
Yeah.
really stuck. If you were to break down the components of like, I've never really thought about what my voice is, and I honestly don't think about it every day. And I actually was
Mhm.
thinking about it this morning, not because we're going to be recording today, but sometimes I'm like, sometimes I just like spray and pray, and I'm like, let me try that and let me try that. And then I have to go back to like, Andrea, what the fuck are you here to say? I do need to like just
Center.
center. Yeah, I need to, my ADHD can get the best of me, and it does help that I do actually have places where it's written down of like, this is what we stand for, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, and like, this is who our customer is, this is what we give a fuck. Like it's very clear to me that my customer doesn't feel like a magical fairy. She is running on a treadmill that she doesn't even know she's on. She can't figure out why she's so tired, and she can't figure out why she's not really getting anywhere, but she's working
Mhm.
so hard. And so like I do have that very clear visual of I'm just the person who runs up and like unplugs it, and she's like, "I didn't even know I was on that." Right? So like I can plug back into this and like speak to moving her from this like metaphorical treadmill into just like play and fun and magic, and like and doing something that's very meaningful and heart-centered to her. But
Mhm.
for the person who's like not really done all of that work, and they're just like, what do you mean brand voice? If I want to make somebody feel something, and that's a part of my job as somebody who's creating branding, how the fuck do I do that? Like where do we start?
So, the simplest way to describe it that I have found to be really useful is again thinking about the emotion you want people to feel and the descriptors, the actual adjectives that describe the voice, because brand voice is your brand's personality that is perceived through the words you use. The words you use, somewhat the imagery, but more so the words, because words are our modern day spells and words carry weight.
Mm.
They activate emotion. People have either incredible associations with certain words and negative associations with certain words. So again, going back to, your brand voice, you want people to feel enlightened and light and playful and fun. I would describe your voice as playful and quick and clever and also somewhat maybe ethereal because it doesn't
Mm,
feel heavy. Yes, you're welcome. There you go. So
thanks.
that's that's how I would look at yours and like looking at mine. I want people to feel inspired. I want them to feel emboldened, like they're ready to walk down the catwalk and have all eyes on them and they are them, not somebody else. And the descriptors of my brand voice are bold, unsurprisingly, cinematic. I'm a bit dramatic and I love a good story,
Ooh,
right? Cinematic.
Scorpio.
Yes, very. Very clever, very tongue in cheek, very witty. I'll say a lot of jokes really, really quickly. And for the people that get them, they will get them and we'll kind of have that nod moment of, I see what you did there. So that's definitely a part of my brand voice as well. And insightful. I like to share a lot of intellect. I like to share wisdom, and wise is even another descriptor of my brand voice. So when you get really clear on how do you want it to be described, what those adjectives are, and you know the emotion you want to cause, that's kind of the beginnings of knowing and putting some boundaries around your brand voice. And so once you know what emotion you want to cause and what descriptors will be related to causing that emotion, those are the two kind of early ingredients of starting to articulate and put boundaries around what your brand voice is.
I've had so many seasons where my brand voice has changed. And there
Hmm.
was, a season where I was like Andrea, the tough love coach, and Andrea that you know today that has that like levity and the enlightenment. And I will tell you that Andrea, the tough love coach, was still the girl who was trying to prove herself.
Yep.
And I can deliver tough love now, but it's not how I was delivering it before. Before it was like, because I wanted you to know me, not because I
Hmm.
wanted you to know yourself. And that's such a significant difference of
Hmm.
I was still in desperate need of the validation of like, believe me that I'm awesome because I like hadn't really deeply known that for myself yet.
Hmm.
And I feel the difference in my body when I write one way. And I'll catch
Yes.
myself do it every now and then. It's few and far between, but here's when it occurs. It's if I see somebody else's content that's just like light years beyond me, that's like maybe triggered me a little bit. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I can do that too. And I'll start and I'll notice actually I'm doing it because the grip in my fingers gets a little tense
Tight.
and my shoulders will tense up, my neck will tense up. And I'm like, Andrea is trying to prove herself right now. And whatever gets
Hmm.
typed, it's like delete, delete, delete. And look, some emails have snuck out over the years that I look back and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, or posts or
Right.
whatever. So this isn't a perfect process where like every day you're known for like the same thing because, some days we're in our luteal phase before a period and we're just like,
Same right
honestly, we don't know
now.
who we are anymore.
No, not at all.
I'm like on day 3 of my cycle and I'm starting to catch energy back. So like the
There
Andrea
you
that
go.
you guys know, I'm like, yay, she's back, bitches. Thank God. But like, look, it's hard out here for a woman. Like, we're just girls got like, bless our internet, bless our voices, bless our brands, bless our products, bless
Hmm.
our womb and our vision, like, and really just carry this. Carry this. I
Yes.
can't hold this burden. I can't hold the burden of the wisdom I carry, God. Okay, I know we started with wisdom and we were talking about like being the daughter of immigrants and the wisdom that you carry with you. What do you feel like has been something that you carry with you today that has really supported you as you take on the posture of the woman who I want to also tap back into like holding the vibration of $1,000 an hour? Do you feel like
Hmm.
that's easy for you to do? Or do you feel like you're still like, you know what? Do you have to remind yourself you can do that every once in a while?
I have to. Yes. Because what I have noticed about working with individuals, teams, small companies at all revenue levels and stages of business is that imposter syndrome is a human thing, not an income thing or a job title thing
Ooh,
or an industry thing. So
please say more.
knowing that billionaires struggle with imposter syndrome, knowing that multimillionaires struggle with imposter syndrome, knowing that broke college students, I say broke and not poor because broke is a state that is temporary and poor is a long term generational mindset, struggle with imposter syndrome. It's actually incredibly freeing to know that there's nothing wrong with you. It is just simply a part of the human condition to doubt yourself, to keep you in sameness, to keep
Mm.
you in safeness. regardless of how much fucking struggle is associated with wherever you currently are, at least wherever you currently are is, as they say, the devil you know. And it's better the devil you know than the devil you
Mm.
don't, right? That's a story that was in my head quite a bit and quite a lot. I shed that a few lives ago. But the thing that you were talking about, writing from forcing it instead of allowing it to flow, I remind myself of that when I'm doing this high level, deep strategy work. And what I've realized is I don't doubt myself as much when I am working with the right clients for me, because the right clients, the correct clients, not that they're right and the other ones are wrong, but they're correct. They're on my level, they're on my frequency. They are trusting the process. They see the value and they're not going to fight me on the value or the process because there's that trust there and we have that shared vision. And they know the value of a strategy that can make them millions of dollars. So if I'm charging them a measly 20K, they're like, where do I sign? Say less. I'll also
Mhm.
say for the service professionals in the audience that are wondering about raising their rates and alienating their clientele and having their business collapse before they get to the next level. I went from charging 75 an hour for copywriting and having people tell me, "Holy shit, I've never had anybody write like this for me. How do you get me? How do you see me? You're my copywriter for life." And I was like, "Yay." And then now I'm like, "No, I don't want to do copywriting anymore." But it's a lot easier to work with a client that you charge $10,000 a month for than a
Mm.
client that you charge $1,000 a month for. And I'm not saying that the $1,000 a month client is a bad person or worse than the $10,000 a month client. I'm saying that the depth of transformation and the vision of what they have and their capacity to invest at a certain level, they are more apt to trust the process because they're farther
Mhm.
along in their journey. The larger scale projects that have come along with clients who trust me to like deliver on the transformation, the massive transformation of $1,000 investment, a $30,000 investment. Who knows? I might start charging for $1,000 if I can find a way to facilitate that type of transformation. They get it. They pay the invoice. They don't bug me. When they do email me, they're like, I know we're meeting in a few days, but if it's all right, I have this. I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, email me. I tell you to email me, and they don't because they respect the boundaries. They know that the sacredness of the work, I set up our process in a certain way to deliver. So I do still struggle with imposter syndrome. It pops up, but then I just look back at all the evidence, which, by the way, Andrea, you told us to create a client love or a client wins folder on our phones, like to create an album on our iPhones. I have it. I still
Mhm.
add to it. What number am I at right now? I have 400
Yes. I love that.
of clients saying incredible things. And some of them are quantifiable, like you helped me double my income in 12 months. You helped me raise my price point. That's great. But I screenshot the ones that are about how, like, I'm able to trust my team, and, "Oh my gosh, this made me cry,"
Mm.
and now that's a fucking newsletter. I'm gonna go create one so I can impact somebody as much as possible with just a simple email newsletter. 432. Yeah.
I
So
love that. You know what I've done, and I actually was just thinking, I'm like, dang, I need to update this, is
mm,
my team actually got this for me. It's one of the Alexas that has like the screen panel where you can do like a photo album slideshow of it.
yeah.
And so they programmed it with like a bunch of like customer testimonials. So whenever it's in my Babe Cave office, and so whenever I'm there, I like see those slide through and I'm like, wow, that hasn't been updated in minutes. So thanks for that. And
Yes.
so I'm like, I have really good ideas I'm not very good at keeping up with. Like I did that for a while, and now I'm like, we have all of our testimonials and they're all organized through program through Dropbox. Like that's very organized, but like the
Right.
one that's just for me when I need to remember who the fuck I am. You know what I've
Mhm.
been doing, you guys? Like this is great. Go back through old like Zoom calls and just re-listen to them. Tap back into the vibration of being there with like your people. Cause you know,
Mhm.
5 days before my period, I think everything is, I think the sky's
You're gonna
falling.
burn
I
it
want to
down to the
burn it all to the
ground.
ground. I think I suck. I'm the worst. And those are the times where I'm like, I thank God for so much history of like all this stuff that I could just, this last week was a rough period for me. And
Mhm.
I went back and I re-listened to so much old content and it was like a saving grace. I'm like, I feel so inspired. I'm like, I can't
Mhm.
wait to do this at like 10x the level for people. The process of finding your voice and branding and creating an overall emotional signature that you're known for is one of the most powerful things that anybody, years ago, somebody told me, I was like, she was a mentor of mine and she said, I asked her the question. I was like, "You've seen all my stuff. You've seen my marketing. Like, if there were one thing that you could ask me to dial in on that was going to make a significant impact for my business, what would you recommend?" And she goes, "I need you to triple down on brand." And I did, and it paid hardcore.
Mhm.
So, but this process isn't like a one and done. It's not something that's really quick. I think AI can support you tremendously here, but there are things that AI cannot do, which is what you just did for me, which was a beautiful reflection. It's that human to human reflection of this is how you make me feel. And this is what I'm getting from that
Mhm.
because you're not selling to AI, you're selling to an actual human being. And in order to get them to
Right.
make a move, just from a physiological level, you have to cause an emotion because the emotion precedes an action every day, all the time,
Right.
100% of the time. If you only focused on one thing for the rest of your life for your business, it would be like figure out the artist of the human emotion because that's the only thing that makes people move. So
That's it.
tell us a little bit about this beautiful community that you've created.
Yes, thank you. So I realize that branding comes naturally to me. I've definitely upskilled and improved my knowledge and my ability to help others do it. But I realize it doesn't come as naturally to everybody else and that it can be really overwhelming. Jumping in the deep end of the pool excites me, it freaks other people out. So I
Yeah.
don't want the fact that my natural inclination is going to hold other people back when I share my knowledge. And so I was having this conversation a year ago and also a month ago. So once is a happenstance, twice is a pattern. I pay attention to patterns. And I was talking with a group of real estate agents and a mortgage professional at this conference in Vegas in July. And I was telling them everything that I want to do, all these courses and this and this. And they were asking me questions about branding and personal branding. And as I was speaking to them, I could see the overwhelm like in their eyes. They knew I knew my shit. I'm extremely credible and authoritative in this area that I've really made my niche. However, if somebody is overwhelmed, they're not going to take action. And if they're not going to take action, they're not going to see results. And if they don't see results, they're
Mhm.
either going to blame themselves or blame you or blame both. And then it doesn't matter how smart you are. It's not enough to be good this day and age in the era of coaching, in the area of community building. You must be able to articulate it and share it in a way that allows other people to have those light bulb moments and
Mhm.
take the baby steps until they can crawl and then walk and then run with you because you're already running. You're like the Usain Bolt. And this person over here is like a little like hot water bag puddle of like a 2-year old. Do 2-year olds walk? I don't know. You can tell I'm not a mom yet. But
Yes.
so okay, they do walk. All right.
2 2-year-olds walk.
I'm gonna look back at this, Andrea, like 5 years from now and be like, "Oh, precious cat. Precious, precious cat. You thought life wasn't." Anyway, so after having these conversations, because again, what did I say? Branding is not about you. It's about the people you want to make an impact on. And the people I wanted to make an impact on said that they were overwhelmed as fuck with everything out there. So I pivoted and instead of launching a full-length course, I launched this beautiful little community and it's designed around doing 14-day sprints where each 14 days we pick something, one element to tackle. And we're starting with voice because finding your voice and being able to articulate it is one of the earliest hurdles that I notice a lot of my clients struggle with. So we're starting there. And I'm allowing everybody who just joined as a founding member to help me co-create the future sprints. I'm asking them, what else do you want to focus on? What else is a blocker? What else is draining your energy? What else feels overwhelming? How can we break it down to its most fundamental elements? And I'll create an audio drop where you can listen to it, private podcast style. I've been inspired and have implemented that form of content consumption that you use within your business within mine. And seriously, because I work with very busy entrepreneurs in the real estate space predominantly, they do not have time to sit down at a desk and watch a Zoom replay. Nobody desires to sit down at a desk and watch a Zoom replay, but an edited little bite sized audio that they can pop in with a podcast app and they can listen to it when they're driving to and from appointments, or they're waiting to pick up their kids in the carpool lane, or they're at the gym getting their sacred alone time and working out. It's the best. So it's bite-sized brand building that is voice first, visuals second. And that's the beautiful little space. And I'm so proud of it because I have been holding myself back from launching something like this because of a lot of internal concerns or fears that I had, that I wouldn't be able to show up. I wouldn't be able to provide value. Would anybody show up at all? I launch this thing and nobody shows up. What happens? It's like the kid at the birthday party who invites everybody from class and then nobody shows up at their birthday party. And then you're like, God damn. But people showed up. Dozens of people showed up. People showed up within the last moments before the doors closed.
Yes.
I was on the live kickoff call and I saw ka-ching, ka-ching, because like the app where I host the community has that little sound, and they joined and then they immediately joined. And so it's great. It's called bold brand energy because that's the type of energy that I want you to embody when you're walking on your catwalk, whatever your catwalk looks like.
I
And
love
that's
this
it.
so much. This is one of those things that, like, God bless communities like this because we really, really do need someone to sort through the spaghetti in our head when it comes
Yeah.
to this shit. It can feel tremendously overwhelming to grasp like the texture of that first starting point of like, okay,
Yeah.
the rebrands also because of like identity shifts that we go through consistently over seasons of our business and like who am I and what do I stand for now? Like I should have hired you last year. Like literally a year ago this month, August, I was like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yep. That
What am I
tracks.
saying? Like none of it made sense.
Yeah.
So bless this what's the price point of this community?
So it's 111 a month or 1,111 for the
Yay.
year, whichever one feels best. I wanted it to
Easy
be
breezy.
premium, not to make more money, but to really filter again and to want to have people in there that take it. My cat just knocked over one of our photos if you're watching on the video. I want people to take it seriously and not just to be another subscription that you ignore, on your checking statement or your credit
Yeah.
card statement.
Yeah. I think you should charge more, actually. That number surprised me.
Really? This
Um,
is why we need humans, people.
yeah,
Thank you for
no,
that reflection.
I know. You're welcome. And, I do wanna, like, pop back into the pricing conversation before we complete because I don't wanna test the internet gods a little too much today. God bless the connection that we have right now. But,
Right.
what you said earlier really impacted me, which is, like, what's the quality of customer that you want? And the reality is it doesn't matter the price point. You can still dictate the quality of the customer through your marketing and your communications. But I
Mhm.
think about now, especially with anybody who does have live access to my energy, I think like what's it going to cost for me to hold the space of that container from an
Yes.
energetic standpoint and making sure that I'm able to get compensated for that because otherwise I'm selling a fraction of my energy and a fraction of my wisdom. And that is really what people are buying in containers like this. They are buying your wisdom. And when you show up and you're
Mhm.
just like slightly energetically off, like people are just getting a lesser portion of you. And that's not really cool because they're paying for all of you. So
Yeah.
I don't know when you said that I was starting because like I actually raised my rates for my one-on-one to $8,888, getting ready to open enrollment for private clients for the first time in 2025 next month. And I was
Mhm.
just thinking, I'm like, as you said that, I'm like, I couldn't charge less than this because I need the caliber of person, not necessarily like how much money they're making or like accolades, but I mean like the person who's decisive, the person who's like ready to go, the person who's like rocking velocity but wants a smoother ride, the person
Mhm.
who's like, who literally doesn't fuck around and they're just like, here's the shit, put it on the table, help me sort this through. Like, that is the person that like is going to be in the,
Oh,
close
no.
to
I lost
$9,000 a
you.
month price point. And like,
You the pinky
I
popping
cannot
energy, though. I
accept
love
less
that.
than that because
I'm
to
with you on
hold the
that.
space of that caliber of person
Oh,
is going to require me to be on my shit. Like I can't be going through identity crises. Like
mhm,
since I started last year, my identity crisis, like I took on one new client after that. And then it was it. Like my soul would not let me accept another private client after
mhm.
last October. I have been in
Wow.
like a no private client zone for a minute. And now I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Like I've integrated, but I worked
Mhm.
really fucking hard. I
Yes.
cried my ass off. I went through knife emoji season where it was time for our seasons to be over.
Yes. Yes, yes.
But like
Yeah.
the the price is the price. And like you have to think about the person who'd be willing to say yes to that price. And is that the person that you actually want to spend the next 3, 6 months, sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years with?
Mhm.
So thank you for saying that, anyways.
Yes. No, it's important because you up level with your identity, with your level of wisdom. And if you don't up level your price point, you're going to be attempting to teach higher education to a third grader. And I don't say
Woo!
that to make your clients feel like they're idiot third graders. That is not the intention. It's just to show that there's a difference between a fifth grader teaching a third grader how to do something on the playground versus like post grad trying to teach a third grader something. You've up leveled in your wisdom that is going to be reflected in the energetic exchange of the money and the price of the transformation you facilitate. Oh, when you had told me years ago, the price has nothing to do with your worth as a human being. It has to do with the value of the transformation you facilitate. I always remind myself of that when it's a $20,000 project and I know that this is going to increase their revenue 20% minimum over the next 12 months. And I know what that company makes. I'm like, I should be charging more, but I won't because also this depends on you implementing it perfectly. And there's always room for human error. So I'm like, 20 is good for right now until I learn more. And then I'll charge more
For now.
for now.
For now. You're really good at remembering the shit that I say. I'm like, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
And look, there's not very many people that I feel like can parallel my metaphors, but I actually think you are slightly more superior in the metaphor game. Like constantly, I'm just like, God, that was a bar. Wait, is that the slang?
A
Is that what the
bar,
kids say?
maybe.
That was a
I
bar?
don't
That was
know. I know
bars? I don't
Riz
know.
is a thing.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to be cooler with the,
I'm
oh
trying
no, I
to. I'm
don't say
asking my
that.
stepdaughter and I'm like, is this cool? Is this okay? She's like, that's okay. I'm like, okay, thank God. And I'll say something and I'll just see her face.
I know.
Dylan keeps you honest.
Dylan, Dana, Keith's daughter Dana, his
Mhm.
son Julian. No, Dana is actually pretty cutthroat. She's like, never say that again.
With the
So,
the Devil Wears
yeah.
Prada energy there. Thank you, Dana.
No, 1000%. Kat, I love you. You guys, we're going to drop links in show notes so that you guys can creep into Kat's container. You guys will see what I fell in love with years ago. Like, we can't get rid of each other because she's
No.
just soul family, as are so many of my clients and even you guys. So, if you guys vibe with me, you guys vibe with Kat. If you roll with me, you roll with Kat. So,
Ride or die.
ride or die for sure. We will also drop all links in show notes, but give a shout out to your Instagram as well as your podcast.
Yes. So you can find me in true millennial fashion on Instagram at Kat Torre, TORREXO. So I do everything with love. And then my podcast is called Not Nice, Clever, co hosted with my amazing friend and podcast partner in crime, Candace.
I've never heard you pronounce your last name ever. And
Really?
I have always said Kat Torre.
Yeah, it's Tori, like Joe Tori. No relation. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working like as hard as I am. I'd be a Nepo baby somewhere.
No, I'll never forget it now. It's just, I have literally my whole life in my head said your
Really?
name is Kat Torre. Yeah.
Oh,
I've
nope,
never
Tori.
heard you say it aloud.
Because we only just went by Cat, it was like we're like so formal, like with our introductions, but that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. We don't introduce ourselves in our mastermind or containers by last name, but
No.
okay. Well,
The
you
more
know
you
what?
know.
This is what happens when all your like close friends you've met on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I know people, I know people's like deep, deep childhood wounds, and I don't
Mhm.
know their middle names. What's your middle name?
It's Alexandra.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, Kat are my initials, Kat. Do you wanna know my full real name, first name?
Yes.
It's Kirsten.
What? I'm
I
gonna throw
rebranded
up.
myself.
This this is the dark side of the internet.
Tis. Tis, tis, tis. No, I got sick and tired of correcting people, especially substitute teachers in elementary school, so I just rebranded myself as Kat in middle school, and I remember, they would do roll call and they ask you, like, "We're gonna do roll call with your name, but then tell us if you want a different name." And 6th grade, first day, the teacher said, Kirsten or Kristen, I can't remember what she said, Tori, and I said, "Here, but I go by Kat." I didn't say, like, "I'd like to do this," or, "Could you please?" I was like, "I go by Kat." And I remember everybody's head who knew me from elementary school turned on a swivel. They're like, "The fuck did she just say?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me now."
I actually just like a really quick pivot on, well, no, I need to go down deeper on this one because I was just
Okay.
listening to a podcast. It was the Diary of a CEO podcast, and he
Love
was
that
interviewing,
podcast.
I know it's like one of my like favorite. I go on my morning walks with him.
Thank you, Steven. Yes.
I don't remember the guy he was interviewing, but the guy is an expert in like human patterns and behaviors. And he
Mhm.
said that if you have a name that's easier to pronounce, you have a greater likelihood of success. And so I love that you did a rebrand there. And 10 out of 10 recommend everyone else to do that. I'm
Yeah.
Andrea or Andrea, but like nobody gets that. If I'm in Miami, I'm Andrea,
Yes, you
but
are.
anywhere else, like Washington, DC, I was Andrea. Like it just depends on where I'm at. That it's fairly
Mhm.
easy, but I love that you did that. Smart,
Simple.
smart, smart,
Less is more,
smart.
y'all.
But you've been living the brand game since you said
That
fifth grade.
Since 5th grade, and that's legitimately the private clients I work with at the project level, they're going through rebrands. Like, that's the pattern. The last
Yeah.
3 clients I've worked with, they're in, like, rebrand identity crisis. I was like, "Oh," it's like, "I've done this 27 times. I got you." Like, let's
Thank God. Thank God. Oh my God. We love you. We'll drop all the places that you guys can go find Kat. Please go follow her podcast and subscribe and become super fans like I am because Kat has all the goods. And when we're not like dealing with choppy internet, when she just gets on one, it's just like mesmerizing. So allow that
Thank
to
you.
happen. But we've had the internet just saying like, shut up, shut up, shut up throughout this whole
I'm like, "Let
podcast.
me see a different way to say this is not gonna piss off the sky daddy."
We're going to have you back on. That's just what we're going to do. But there's too
I
much
love it.
gold for this to not go live. So we
Not to
are
live
sharing this
somewhere.
one and we are not limited to this and we can
Mhm.
fucking do it again and we can talk as much as we want to. But Kat, I love you. I adore you. I know everyone else will too. And so thank you for coming on and sharing your beautiful story and your vulnerability and this beautiful offer that has graced its way into the world. I know it's not a normal thing for just like the average person to be able to sign up and work actually with you. You have a very specific
Totally.
clientele. And so this is very fun and very cool too. So everybody in this accelerator group, the OGs are
The
celebrating you too. We
OGs.
love you. We love you.
Thank you, thank you. Love you, Andrea. Thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome.